Marvel Sleepwalker continues our final two reviews in the Build-A-Figure Rintrah wave, tied into Doctor Strange the Multiverse of Madness. We're going low-key with this one. Hi, it's me behind the camera, like the old-school reviews, because I've just got a lot on. It's easier to get these filmed and edited and out to do it this way. And also, let's be honest, no offence to your boy Sleepwalker here, but I'm not entirely sure how many of you lot are going to be clicking on this to watch it. Because you'll be like, who? Sleepwalker is as obscure as they come, I think, in terms of Marvel heroes. Rick Sheridan is his alter ego. Rick Sheridan and Sleepwalker, which is a race of interdimensional beings / aliens, I'm going Crystal Skull logic here, that live in the dream world we all tap into when we go to sleep. Like when you're dreaming, turns out you are accessing a multiverse of sorts, an idea which was then adapted into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. So even though Sleepwalker doesn't feature in the movie, I can see why they've put this figure in the wave, because thematically it does kind of work. Rick Sheridan and this particular Sleepwalker merge together, and he gets stuck in Rick's body, and as such he transforms into the superhero Sleepwalker, who has sort of varying psychic abilities and super strength and speed. He had a mini-series in the 90s, and then has mostly just kind of shown up in other stuff here and there. Like he's one of the few characters who remembers the events of Infinity Gauntlet, but he remembers them as a dream, so he's not sure that they really happened. Whereas obviously everyone else involved in Infinity Gauntlet, bar a couple characters, don't remember it happening. I first encountered Sleepwalker myself in Superior Spider-Man Team-Up during the Superior Spider-Man era of Spider-Man comics, where Peter Parker, Otto Octavius, would have team-up stories, but because he was a lot more antagonistic, he'd very rarely have a buddy team-up like Peter Parker would in Spider-Man Team-Up and Avenging Spider-Man and all these other books. So naturally, when he met the Sleepwalker was the hero of that book, not Spider-Man. And I remember thinking, wow, that is a visually really interesting character. So the fact that he's an action figure is nuts. I got him fairly cheap. Smith's Toys were doing him for $12.99 online with next day delivery near enough. He arrived within 2 days. No extra price, no extra cost for the delivery. And I'm delighted he did, because, again, not a character I was clamouring after, but I did kind of want to finish this wave, and to get him for a decent price, I got him and Despair for just slightly more than the cost of one figure on release. So I'm very happy with that, and I'm happy to have him in hand, but let's see if he is worthy of the collection, as the bio reads, if it will focus. The Sleepwalker is the guardian of the mindscape, apprehending beings that invade the sleeping minds of humans. So yeah, like a good guy Mr. Sandman. It's a beautiful illustration on the back. Will the toy be beautiful? It's time to find out. He lives in your dreams. But he's a superhero, don't worry about it. Sleepwalker's articulation is, as you'd expect, it looks like this is on the old Bucky Cat body, which is a common body, common torso that has been used by Hasbro since early Marvel Legends, since they took the line over in the late 2000s, I want to say, late 2000s, early 2010s. As you can see, we've got the peg and swiveling the ankle. Nice range of movement, actually. The foot isn't that wide. It's very slim, so he can have that ghostly comic book kind of proportion, but it does make me wonder if he's going to balance well. He has a swivel at the top of his bandaged boot. Double knee joint. He's got swivel at the top of the thigh and moves at the crotch. Decent range of movement, actually. His all body type works out. Do you know what? Yeah, I think these legs, like the main part of the leg, has been most recently reused on the retro Spider-Man figures, if I'm not mistaken. He has a turn at the waist, a big old crunch in the ribs / stomach. His arm goes in and out, a little stiff on both of them, but I prefer that than it too loose. At the top, he also has a swivel out the top of the bicep, a double elbow joint, and his wrist turns around. His head is on a ball joint atop a peg, so he's got the more old school movement, but it is hampered a little by his costume. Let's talk about his costume. Please let me know, Hasbro Marvel Legends fans, if these parts have been used before, because if not, I am amazed that they did this for Sleepwalker. His boots are individually sculpted with different scraggly bits of material coming off. There's this thigh decoration, like the bandages around his thigh. He's got the little sash belt here, which based on how you position it could go over the articulation around the waist or just hang below it. The gloves, again, completely different bandage wraps with nice loose rubbery bits sticking out the sides. His cape is just perched around his neck. There's a peg hole in the back of his body, but that was common for this torso. So if you wanted to, you could stick him on a peg stand and have him floating, which would make more sense for this character, really. The hood is attached to the head. In fact, I think it's not the same, but it's similar to like the hobgoblins that have come out in recent years and Demogoblin. And it allows for a decent amount of movement, actually. The stark colours of the costume are great. Even though the illustration on the packaging shows a more kind of modern interpretation of the design, he seems to be sticking very closely to, I guess, this 90s representation in terms of the colours and the level of detail. Scraggly cape at the back. But I don't hate that, because he's going to stand out on your shelf. The face, in particular, is very, very nice. That flat alien physiology there. I'm sure there's some customizers out here looking at this dude and going, do you know what? I could probably resculpt, take the hood out, and remold the face and make either a pre-transformation Beta Ray Bill, or, and now that I'm looking at him, I'm like, holy shoot, you really could. You could probably make a comic book Gore the God Butcher with that face. Right, get material moulded in the top, give him the tendrils down by his ears. Ooh. Me, however, I will happily keep him a Sleepwalker. I think this is a pretty impressive looking figure on its own. Like, he looks good. His balled up fists are a little flat though, especially if you want him to look more ethereal and spooky, which is why I'm glad that he comes with a pair of spellcasting spooky hands, which also, based on their angle, make for decent neutral hands as well. Very expressive. I think he looks absolutely dope. He comes with the left leg of Rintrah from Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which means we are now one step, or one hoof, closer to completing our final Multiverse of Madness character. Gotta say it, if you find this guy on reduction, even if it's just to collect Rintrah, get him! He looks great! I am so pleasantly surprised by this. What do you think of Sleepwalker? Do you think he makes for a pretty good figure? Can you find him for cheaper than I did? I found him for $12.99 on Smith's Toys website here in the UK. Let me know in the comments below. You can also support the video by leaving a comment or giving a thumbs up. If you want to support the videos and future toy reviews by buying a toy and get a shout out, there's my PayPal link and my Amazon wishlist link in the description. No obligation, obviously. The only thing you have to do is tune in next time when we look at Despair. Ta-ta for now.